Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Great to be here this lovely Tuesday evening. Been playing some interesting songs. I have not played. I mean, to be fair, the last song we played is what usually played during Ramadan. And Ramadan is starting tomorrow, right? 18th February. Yeah. So just thought to play that because of the title of today's show, and also because folks are going to start fasting tomorrow. So, by the way, whoever gave that guy the inspiration to write, compose, and perform that song, that person is MVP. Because every year they will play Ramadan by Taliban, and that's quite nice. All right. Let's get into it. If you're on TikTok, please let's power tap. Thank you very much for being here. I hope you've been enjoying the music all the while. Thank you very much. Please like the live and share. It's Tuesday, so we're not coming on camera, so we'll need everybody to help with the tapping and sharing. So please, if you're on TikTok, kindly power tap and share the live as well. I want to get the numbers up. Thank you very much, Mr. Lani Yolaleye, for liking. All right. For those of us on YouTube and on Facebook, please like and share the live stream. And if you're on X, kindly like and repost. Thank you very, very much. Today, we're just going to go straight into it. We had a conversation a while back that had to do with the whole dates and, it has to do with moon sighting and Ramadan. And like I said, the other day, it's not so much a religious conversation as it is a cultural, conversation. I think it's important for us to discuss it as Yorùbá people. Not, again, this is not a platform for one religion is right or wrong. I don't like to do religious debates on social media because for the most part, those who are arguing are more emotional than knowledgeable. I don't think I want to get involved in all of that. So that's not what this conversation is about. The conversation is about Yoruba culture and how it's influenced by faith and religion, and how you can maintain cultural autonomy even when you espouse a faith that, that gives you brotherhood with those who are not of your ethnicity. And by the way, before we get into it, let me just start by saying that I believe that spirituality goes beyond geography. Okay, so you can have Muslims who are not Arabs, who are Yoruba. You can have Christians who are not from Israel or from Rome, who are Yoruba. You can have traditional religious people who are not Yoruba, who are Cubans or Americans. And that's what you have, by the way. So it's not about, and I'm saying this because people sometimes think every conversation like this actually gives them the latitude to insult folks from other religions and say, oh, look at all these people, Yoruba, how are you doing? That is not what this platform is about. People have a right to choose whatever they want to choose as far as their faith is concerned. But the conversation is about cultural autonomy, regardless of the faith you adhere to. I think it's a very important conversation to have, especially considering what's happening in recent times. Having said that, let me also say one more time, we need everybody to please power tap and share the live. Thank you very, very much for being here, but we have to keep the live going and we would need your support to get that done. So please like, share, and let's keep this going. All right, for folks on YouTube and Facebook, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm glad you're here. And if you're on X, please like and repost. YouTube and Facebook, please like and share. Okay, we're gonna have a great time today. I have a feeling. Also, when we're done with the replay, you'll be able to come up to share your thoughts. So if you have anything to enlighten us about, please feel free to come up. And if you have questions, you'll be able to do so as well. But that'll be after the replay. Okay, so today's session, of course, is titled "Who Decides Ramadan? Yoruba Muslim Leaders or the Sultan?" Again, cultural conversation. Okay, and if you want to come from a religious standpoint, do it, but please make sure you come correct. Like I said, I don't like to discuss religion, but if you want to, feel free to come up and do so, but come correct. Don't come emotionally. Don't put out emotions. They don't really help in such conversations. But as much as possible, let's remember that the conversation is primarily cultural and it's about Yoruba cultural autonomy. All right. So I'm going to read the description. It's a video on our YouTube channel, Busui Oris. I'm going to read the description and then we can start listening. All right. The League of Imams and Alfaz in Yoruba land has announced the commencement of Ramadan for 2026. That decision has sparked debate across religious and cultural spaces. Some critics insist that the Sultan should remain the final authority on such announcements nationwide. Here's the real question. If Yoruba is a distinct nation with its own religious leadership structure, why should Yoruba Muslims depend on the traditional ruler of another ethnic group simply because we share the same country? When did the Nigerian borders erase cultural identity and internal authority? Religious unity matters. Brotherhood matters. Shared faith creates powerful bonds. At the same time, cultural identity is not something to erase in the name of harmony. Communities across Nigeria value their heritage and protect their traditions while remaining part of a larger national space. Here's who decides Ramadan, Yoruba Muslim leaders or the Sultan. Please enjoy it. As you listen, kindly pass up and share the live. Thank you very much. Enjoy the video. So this is from the League of Imams and Alfaz in Yoruba land. I like what they even put at the back. They wrote League of Imams and Alfaz in Yoruba land, founded in 1964, so it's not new, apparently. Anyway, let me read this news report. Southwest League of Imams announces February 18 as first day of Ramadan. Islamic leaders and scholars under the League of Imams and Alfaz in Yoruba land have declared Wednesday, 18 February 2026 as the first day of Ramadan, or Ramadan. I like the way my Muslim guys used to say it. The announcement was made in a communique read by the Grand Mufti of Yoruba land, Sheikh Abdulrazak Abdulaziz Ishola, at the end of the League's meeting in Ibadan on Thursday. This report has actually generated a lot of reactions on social media. Different people are saying all kinds of things. It's supposed to come from the Sultan, and this time, by the way, last year they did the same thing. They made sure, in fact, there's another one here. Ramadan 1447 AH begins February 18, 2026. Official announcement from the League of Imams and Alfaz in Yoruba land, Bodija, Ibadan. Dr. Badu says date for commencement is never chosen ahead. Well, this is what they said. Communique on the commencement of Ramadan 1447 AH by the League of Imams and Alfaz in Yoruba land, Nigeria. The first day of Ramadan 1447 AH, inshallah, will be Wednesday, February 18, 2026. Communique from the Office of the Grand Mufti of the League of Imams and Alfaz in Yoruba land regarding the determination of the beginning and termination of the blessed month of Ramadan for the year 1447 AH 2026 CE. All praise to Allah. I mean, the story, the truancy here is that the fast starts. Now, I've heard a lot of, they wrote this in Arabic too. I've heard a lot of people say things like what Dr. Badri is saying. Let me tell you what's happening, and I think Muslims need to get this, especially those in Yoruba land. I'm not a Muslim, obviously, because I've said this every time I'm a Christian. But I think Yoruba people don't understand what these imams and alfas are doing. They don't get it. It is not a religious action. You know what? I'll tell you what I think, what I want to say later. Let me play you something first from Marcus Agege. Elego. Ekin so converse or no? Share here. Over the weekend, I read a report of the constitution of the Islamic Society of Nigeria and so on and so forth. And of course, you have the Sultan, you have the Emir of Borno, and apparently the Sultan is a Sheikh of Borno. The Sultan is like the permanent chairman or something like that. Then you have the Borno, the Sheikh of Borno, and they begin to ask questions like, is the Sultan a religious leader or a political or cultural leader? Okay, and again, this is not a religious matter. It's a political conversation. Is this person the leader of his people or the leader of the Muslims? If he's the leader of his people, of course. If he's the leader of the Muslims in Nigeria, the question will now be on what grounds? On what grounds? Did he introduce Islam to you in Yorùbá land? Was it was it that Yoruba people were not Muslims until Usman Fodio came along? I think what people don't understand is that this conversation is a political conversation. For instance, Islam was already in Hausa land before Usman Fodio, right? So the question is that what Usman Fodio did in the north, in Hausa land, was it religious or politics? Did he bring religion to them, or was he trying to institute something political? You don't have to fight anybody. Or I see people cursing themselves out on social media. You don't have to curse anybody out. It's just simple questions. When he took over Hausa land, was it on that mission from a religious what did he have a religious goal or a political aim, an objective? What was it? It was political. That's why people are saying that why would you fight jihad with people who are already Muslims? Well, number two, did you have Islam in Yoruba land before? Now, on what basis are you acknowledging that person as the head? Is it like you are all in Ansarudin? Or again, I'm saying it from looking outside, and I don't like all this. People are always fighting. You don't have to fight. It's just question and answer. Like, okay, so are you part of the same sect? Shoro Ansarudin, Abora, and Islam, or Bubu Muslim to one day in Nigeria? On what basis? And why would you have a permanent chairman? Like, these are questions that people should answer and really, really. And so when you tell me about why the League of Imam, why are they doing like this? Because they're in Yoruba, and by the way, I like the fact that they're saying they've established this in 1964. And Okono Bere. I don't get it. So if you are not in Nigeria, okay, on what basis, Shah? That's the question. On what basis? Is it that you're doing it because you're in Nigeria, which means that now it has a political coloration? Because you're determining your leader based on the borders of a country. If not, you could have taken orders from Ghana. Why can't you determine your own? Is there no money in Yoruba land? And someone says, the pertinent question is, who is the leader of the Muslims in Yoruba land? I mean, the point is that this body seems to be a body that they've acknowledged as a body that leads them. League of Imams and Alfaz. And this is not the first time, of course. I've been around for a bit, and I've heard them say it, over and over again. And I don't think you need. Someone says no. Tell us what the answer is. My point is that I see no reason for Yoruba people fighting over why one is following Fulani and the other is not following Fulani, like Shag money. This is not a religious conversation, it's a political conversation. And it's a shame. I mean, there are religious things, I don't even bother because it's your religion. But they are political conversations. Was this not what happened? This is how Sholagbe also thought it was okay because they were all Muslims. People know what they are doing. If you don't know, that's your ignorance is your fault. It's politics. And if people are saying no, it's not because they are not Muslims, although thankfully they are Muslims. Say that you have a permanent chairman of Nigeria. How's it going to look like? And on what basis? You can have one, but on what basis? On what basis are you having a permanent chairman that nobody can contest? On what basis? I don't like to do comparison. I don't want to say this religion versus this religion. I'm just saying that folks, especially Muslims who are having a conversation, they should look beyond the religion to the cultural context of the conversation. It's beyond who is leading Muslims. It's beyond with Along Badra. It's a very serious thing. And Yoruba people should start speaking of. Our fathers have always been Muslims before. I mean, some of them, not all of them, clearly, right? But it's not, the Sultan did not determine the kind of Islam they will practice. I think, like, of course, they are all Muslims and they have the way they do their thing. But as a Yoruba person, when I see, and it happened last year, when I see the Yoruba people saying this is how they want to do things, and I see people saying, you can't do that. You are trying to destroy Islam in Nigeria. You are that we shall break ranks. Just like you're saying, Peter Obi, is the same thing. Why? Charlie Telewani, Kiniko. Kill them back at Kiriki Gogolo so in Pomo, Kini Yadosesin. Say, Ijayo buying a Kawa Yasoto Kanshi, any Lori Muslim that you buy, but Mamura Umarabi Fulani. Islam has its rules. What rule in Islam says that the Sultan must be your head? These are the issues. Rules. What rule in Islam says the Sultan must be the head of Yoruba Muslims? Please answer before I play the next video. What rule says that the Sultan must be the head of you? I mean, I'm not saying that they're not Muslim relations. I mean, they have relationship now. It's normal. I'm just saying, the people, what's your basis for telling the Yoruba people to push back against what the Sultan is saying? The rule of commencement of Ramadan. I'm not talking about Ramadan. That's a religious conversation. I'm telling you that the reason they are... Why are you talking like this? I'm not a Muslim. Whenever you start your Ramadan is fine. That's not my business. That's a religious conversation. And I don't think I have a right to have that conversation, at least, unless, of course, I'm bringing out the Quran, which is not why we're here. My point is the fact that they are not going to have the Sultan dictate that thing to them. That's what this is about. You think it's really about dates? You have to be looking beyond the, it's not about dates. So this conversation, they had the conversation last year. What's the rule of commencement of Ramadan? Because I saw, let me see if I can find you that picture. Don't worry, we're almost done. Then we'll go to today's class. I just think it's another opportunity to learn. Dr. Badri, if you want to come up to explain, please feel free to do so. I'd like to really understand where you're coming from. I saw this thing, the 33-year Ramadan cycle. Ramadan begins 10 to 12 days earlier each year because it is based on the lunar Hijri calendar with months that are 29 or 30 days long. This was actually published by Al Jazeera. And apparently there's a method to the whole thing. For instance, in year 2030, they're saying that Ramadan will be observed twice. There'll be Ramadan in January, and there'll be another one in December. I'm seeing this cycle that goes all the way from 2025 to 2056. I think they're using technology. I don't know. For me, like I said, I don't even want to go into when they should declare Ramadan because Muslims, that's an Islamic conversation. It's a religious conversation. But the thing they are doing, to be honest, from what I have seen, what I have heard, what I have read, and it did not start today or last year, they are trying to assert cultural autonomy. Don't take people's autonomy from them under the guise of religious brotherhood. So forget about your ethnicity, we are all the same. Is it not the same Yoruba language changing is saying that according to the religion, only for them to go to Ilorin and go and be kneeling down? I saw a video last week. I was like, Kilo, I saw one king. I mean, go forgive that king. Can't allow let die gen or about. Could you be able to room barubu emia? Okay, let's put your mouth double let to pay one chessing. And I've heard it before. People say things like, there's no ethnicity in Islam. Everybody's the same. Our fathers, I speak as a Yoruba man, not as a religious. Our fathers adopted different religions, but they did not forget who they were. They were Yoruba people, but they were Muslims. They were Yoruba people, they were Christians. They were Yoruba people, they did traditional worship. They even did more than those three. The Yoruba people that were doing Kabbalah. The Yoruba Buddhists, they still are. There are folks in Grail Message. I've met a number of people from different faiths. It's not just those three groups that we always shout, but they are still Yoruba. So only but Ẹkáàbọ Baba Lagege. I like to listen to him. There's one video I think I should start with. Then I'll play this longer one. And then we'll bring people up before we go to class. Give me a second. Okay, found it. So let's listen to the conversation. Is not the fast, and I think people should be able to read between the lines going on. As a Yoruba person, I speak up for Yoruba people who belong to any religion. Like, the religious observance or whatever they're doing is what they are doing. That's a religious conversation. But that's Yoruba. No, we shouldn't jettison that, especially when it has to do with your autonomy as a people. What does it take for you to be commanded by a person if you can't even say, why are you leading us? Anyway, let me play you something from Marcus, Baba Marcus the Agege. Take a listen, please.
Now, can we be a Sultan láti Sokoto ó dẹ́kọ̀? Èmi ò bẹ́ jiyàn. Èmi ò bẹ́ jiyàn. Ọmọ ní ìsìn àwọn Yorùbá ti ń sọ fún yín pé ara ń tà ń wí tá fẹ́ sọ tá nínú ẹ̀ á bọ̀ sínú. Ọ̀tọ̀ ní ọ̀rọ̀ ìlú. Ọ̀tọ̀ ní ìlú ààyè ò kí ń jẹ́lù. Inú ìlú láàyè máa ń wà. Nínú ìlú ní ààyè máa ń wà. Ṣebí Yorùbá la jọ ń sọ yìí, àbí? So mi ń sọ èdè mi ni o. Mi ń sọ Hausa, mi ń sọ Igbo, mi ń sọ Gẹ̀ẹ́sì, mi ń sọ Lárúbáwá. Àmọ́ ọ̀tọ̀ ní ààyè ẹ̀dì ń kọ́ ìdànù, ọ̀tọ̀ ní ìlú. Ààyè ṣèlú ń jọ mí, àmọ́ ìlú ó ní ààyè nínú. Nínú ìlú ni ààyè wà. Ààyè kọ́ ní ìlú. Ààyè kọ́ ní ìlú. Àmọ́ nínú ìlú láàyè wà. Nínú ìlú láàyè máa ń wà. Nínú ìlú ni ààyè máa ń wà. Markazi ààyè ni. Markazi ààyè ni. Àmọ́ nǹkan ní ìlú Agége. Àmọ́ nǹkan ní ìlú Agége. Inú ìlú Agége ni Markazi wà. Òun kọ́ ní ìlú. But but ààyè ni so ààyè máa ń bẹ nínú ìlú ni ìlú ò kì í ṣe ààyè.
Ààyè máa ń bẹ nínú ìlú ni ìlú kì í ṣe ààyè.
So àwọn nǹkan wọ̀nyí ẹ bá ń collide, ẹ gbọ́dọ̀ clash.
There should be no conflict.
Kò gbọ́dọ̀ sí conflict. So ìdí nìyẹn èèyàn bá ń wo àwọn míì náà pé kíní kan jẹ́ Sultan èmi ni mo mọ nǹkan tí ẹni tí wọ́n bi léèrè ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn ni mí. Sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn la fẹ́ sọ yìí, mi ò sọ̀rọ̀ àṣẹ ìlú.
Ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn ni bàbá wa sọ, kì í sọ̀rọ̀ àṣẹ ìlú.
Gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n tẹ̀ra wọn ní tí wọ́n ń ṣàfitì irọ́ súnà tọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ míì àjẹ́ Saudi òun ni kíní ṣọ́pàá Saudi ló wà náà oṣù àwẹ̀. Àbáwọn àlìkálí ẹ̀sìn.
Àbáwọn àlìkálí ẹ̀sìn wọ́n àláwùsẹ̀.
Nínú Saudi ẹbí gbogbo ẹni tó lọ Saudi tí wọ́n ń pariwo súnnà ẹgbẹ́ kìíní. Ṣé ẹni tó ṣé ọba wọn ń bẹ̀ ló ń pàṣẹ ni àbí àwọn àfáà tọrọ ẹ̀sìn bá délẹ̀?
Tọrọ ẹ̀sìn bá délẹ̀, ṣé ọba Saudi ló máa ń sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ẹ̀sìn ni àbáwọn àfáà tó wà bẹ́ẹ̀?
Ní Íjíbítì president ibẹ̀ mùsùlùmí ni. Kọ́tọ̀rọ̀ lọ́tọ̀ òṣèlú ìlú lòun ṣe. Ẹni tí ó announce ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ àwẹ̀ òun kọ́ ni ó announce ẹ̀. Kódà ṣe ó Lázàrí kọ́ mufti diyaru misriya òun ni ó announce ẹ̀.
President Egypt ó ti jẹ́ mùsùlùmí tó ọ̀rẹ́ sí bá dé òní ìdásí ẹni tó jẹ́ olóyè ẹ̀sìn nípa ọ̀rẹ́ sí ni ó sọ nípa ọ̀rẹ́ sí.
Ẹni tó jẹ́ olórí ẹ̀sìn kọ́ ẹni tó jẹ́ mufti.
Ẹni tó jẹ́ mufti.
Ṣé ẹ máa ń gbé mọ́ ní yas'alunaka anil ahilla. Sọlọ́ ni mufti àmọ́fà nẹ́bì ṣe arólé wípé ìwọ wà láàrin wọn máa gbẹnu mi sọ. Sọ̀gbà tí ó sá nẹ́bì mọ́ ẹni tó bá wà nípò kí wọ́n bí ní fàtiwọ́ ẹ̀sìn òun ni ó dáhùn ẹ̀sìn yẹn.
Ọlọ́run ni mufti òun ló sì máa ń pàṣẹ fún ànábì pé bá ti fi ẹlẹ́rìí nípa ẹ̀kọ́ báyìí sọ fún wọn. Nígbà tí ó bá sì mọ́ ẹni tó bá wà ní ẹni tó fi ogun sí ànábì ló yẹ kó máa fi léèrè ó sì máa fún ọ lésì lórí ẹ̀.
Òun ni sọ kálukú ló ní fíldì rẹ̀, kálukú ló ní ojúṣe rẹ̀ tó fẹ́ ṣe.
Ó wá lórí ojúṣe rẹ̀ tó fẹ́ ṣe.
Sọ tí àyè bá jẹ́ ẹ̀sìn àyè mímọ́.
Tí àyè bá jẹ́ ẹ̀sìn àyè mímọ́.
Tó sì dá sí pé ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn ló ń kọ́ wọn, ló ń kọ́ ayé.
Ẹ̀sìn ló ń kọ́ wa bí.
Sọ báwo la ṣe fẹ́ wà lẹ́yìn ká máa retí pé àwa kọ́ ni iṣẹ́ responsibility yẹn kàn ẹlòmíì ní ká wá yí sí lọ́rùn. Ká dọ́jì iṣẹ́ wa ká gbé kọ́ ẹlòmíì lọ́rùn tóun ò sì ní gbéṣẹ́ tí ẹ̀ kọ́ wa lọ́rùn.
Àgbọ̀dọ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sọ bí tiwa fún ẹlòmíì níbi iṣẹ́ tiwa ó bá kan ṣẹ́ tiẹ̀ tó lọ́rọ̀ ló kó máa sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ẹ̀.
Sọ ẹlòmíì accuse mi, ẹlòmíì sọ̀rọ̀, ẹlòmíì ṣe kíní. Ṣé o understand the stand wa níbí? Kò understand the policy ibi? Kò
There's another video, it's a bit longer, but I'd like you to listen to. Why am I doing this? Like I said, he can have a religious conversation. I don't usually like to have religious conversations because we are very emotional about these things and we are not as knowledgeable as we should, which is a shame. But I think in Tokpapo ni Ajimobi, and when it comes to matters like this, we have to be very, very careful. And it's a general rule of thumb, whether it's on this matter, for me, it's just like discussing Zeke and obedient movement and Zeke's movement. It's the same thing. You are going to let go of your autonomy. They can use politics to take it from you. They can use religion to take it from you. You think you are doing politics, we are not doing politics. You are doing politics. The person is actually using politics. So for you, politics is an act. For him, politics is a tool. The same way, you can be into religion based on zeal and passion and devotion. The other person could use that same religion as a weapon. So for you, it's a form of devotion. For the other person, it's a tool. You think you are worshiping, that person definitely knows what they're doing. And again, I don't think it's even about fighting. You are still in the same faith, you are still Nigerians and everything, but let's listen to the other one and then we'll bring people up very quickly. Take a listen to, again, we're still listening to the Babani, I like to call him Baba Agege. He's talking about extremism, terrorism. And by the way, the reason I do this, let me also say this. The reason I do this, if you're a Muslim, you're watching Kido Diga. If you're a Yorùbá Muslim, this is actually my way of saying that Iyatowa. Then I'll be talking about you the same way I'll talk about Afghanistan. Or like I'll talk about the kind of Islam they're practicing in the north. Islam that allows you to have a majority, the way it is, that allows you to have child. If you say there's no difference, then we may have to now have conversations based on that, on how to ensure that Yorùbá land doesn't become like that. But when you hear voices like this, it reminds you that there is a distinction between the way Islam is practiced, and I've noticed it since I was a child. Like there's a way we practice Islam for the Muslims amongst us. And again, this is not to say that the people in the north are doing it better or worse. That's not the point. The point is just that there is difference, and it's okay. Why is there a difference, or why are there differences? Because of your cultural outlook, your worldview. And when people say things like it doesn't affect religion, I'm like, you really haven't studied yet. Your worldview will always affect your faith. The point is just that it depends on Shoma Baje. This is what religious people do. If your worldview does not destroy the faith, they will accept it. If not, then you will not have UAE on one hand and Afghanistan on the other hand. So unless you want to tell me that this is the model of Islam, Afghanistan is the model of Islam, let's forget about you. All those UAE people, they are not serious. If that's what you are telling me, then I'm like, okay, I know exactly where you are. Because if you look at Islam in Nigeria, we're not there yet. But if you really want to compare, I would want to compare Yoruba people to folks in UAE. Like, not that we are there, but hopefully if they want to do their Islam, they'll be thinking in that direction. And not thinking in Afghanistan direction. But they're both Muslims, I get it. But we have to be careful. And bye, let's say, Ombo, our landed. Let's take a listen to this particular speech. I hope we'll listen to as much of it as we can, then I'll bring people up. Take a listen, please.
nísìnyí tá ànábì sọ fún wa pé ká pa yẹn ni. sẹ́rí gbogbo àwọn àdìsí tó bá lálàáfíà bẹ́ẹ̀ tó bá Kùránì lọ nìkan ṣọlá máa gbà. tó sì bá làákàyè lọ tó bá ọmọlúwàbí lọ tó bá ìntànẹ́bì mú wa lọ.
sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
ó nìkan làdìsí tá a gbà yìí pé àdìsí sọ lálàáfíà rèé. àmọ́ àdìsí tó bá ti di pé nǹkan kí nǹkan ló ń kọ́ wa àwọn tí wọ́n sì hun wọn lálàáfíà nínú làákàyè. àmọ́ iṣẹ́ rẹ̀ ọ̀ràn yẹn gbogbo kálukú ni. ọba ti jẹ́ mùsùlùmí ọba ti ń kírun tó ń gbààwẹ̀ fi iṣẹ́ rẹ̀ tì. Ànábì wa Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wọ́n lọ bá ń jọ kan wọ́n bá ń ròyìn obìnrin kan wípé innaha tusalli wa tasumu wa ta'mal a'mal al-birr walakin tuzi jaraha. ó ń kírun ó ń gbààwẹ̀ òun la kọ́kọ́ ẹni jẹ́ máa kọ́kọ́ bá mọ́ṣáláṣí òun ni kíni kò ní kúrò mọ́ṣáláṣí yóò lọ yóò gbààwẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n àwọn ará àdúgbò rẹ̀ alábàágbé rẹ̀ gbogbo neighbors rẹ̀ wọn lánàá aburú ọwọ́ ẹ̀ àtàbúrú ẹnu ẹ̀. Ànábì ní innaha fin-nar. iná ni. wa zukira imra'atun inda rasulillahi bi qillati salatihi.
It's a bit long, but I think the message is already passed, and we just bring some people up. By the way, it's not the only one. There's also this Imam Ẹkáàbọ Gold. The number of Yorùbá Muslims. Again, all I say is, whatever faith you want to observe or you want to adhere to, like, be whatever you want to be, but don't throw Yoruba people under the bus, or Yoruba culture, Yoruba identity under the bus because of politics or religion. And those are the main things for the most part. Or in some cases, marriage. I don't know, maybe no. She can't roll on Yoruba. Very more over the weekend. Then we can roll our account. And one can. Then we can roll on one can. Tọ́n bá ti rí politics mú yín, tọ́n rí religion mú yín, obìnrin náà fi mú yín. Ní tí mo rí weekend yìí bad gan, but mi fẹ́ sọ lónìí. It's crazy. Those are the three things I've noticed: politics, religion, and I don't know if I should say sex or relationship, because it could be on the other side too, man and woman. To conquer. Religion is not a tool. Religion can be a tool. I also want to be very careful so it doesn't look like say one is attacking a particular religion. The religion, and I'm very careful with Islam because, again, I don't like to have those kind of conversations, because you can go into it and ask questions like, is this the design of the faith? Is this the design? Shouldn't design a bind, and if you want to go into that, that's a rabbit hole. But I've noticed that the way Yoruba people practice Islam is totally different from how they practice in the North. And I think it's great. Not because I'm a Christian, but because I don't want to see the kind of decadence or the kind of social issues that they've had there because of the practice of their faith. Even though I don't want to go deep into the religious part. But I've noticed, for the most part, it's either politics by using Sikhism or obedient movement, or religion by weaponizing faith. And it could be Islam, it could be Christianity, it could be traditional religion. You can weaponize any religion. So it's not like one religion is better. Any religion can be weaponized, including Christianity, Islam, or traditional religion, or Buddhism, or anyone. All they have to do is to find a way to make it into something that is not. Once you politicize the faith, you have changed the exact form of that faith itself. You've changed the form. And any faith can, again, I'm very careful. It's not about Muslim at this, Muslim at that. That's not the point though. I've seen it in different religions. It's not funny. Woman, man, especially for men. Yoruba men need to sit down. I don't know what is it. You are dating a girl, or you get married to somebody, and somehow your sense just gets evaporated. Now, you can't have conversations with respect, of course, but you can't have conversations that even acknowledges the greatness of Yoruba people. You can't have conversations that acknowledge the greatness of Yoruba people. You have to pander and apologize and tiptoe and walk on eggshells and make the person feel comfortable. It's just ridiculous. Can we not be respectful to people and still be who we are without apologies? I think it's possible. Anyway, let's have some people respond to these things, and then we'll listen before we go to class. Please make it quick, and let's not spend too much time on this section because it's past 6. And please, when you get up, please mute, and then we'll call on you to give your submissions. Thank you very much for listening. So we have a number of people trying to come up. Again, please, so that we can all get better after the conversation. Okay. All right. So I'm bringing you up now. Please mute as soon as you get up, and then I'll call on you to speak. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Abusuyi. Well,
you're up today.
Well, I just feel I should just I appreciate your effort at just feel that there's a need to throw some light on this issue. I grew up in Morikas. My father's house is a stone throw to the main mosque. So, mo everything. Kò ń ṣe issue tó ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ lénìí, ó ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ tipẹ́. Before now, when Baba Adam, the father of the current Mudiu, was alive, there was a I don't want to say a superiority contest between Baba Morikas and Sheikh Gumi, the father of this Gumi Afa. So at that time, through the years, Yoruba Muslims away from the.
Is it because of Baba Marcus? Because the Marcus
Now,
is it because of is it because of Baba Marcus? Because the Marcus video was from Agege, but the other thing Mokoka is actually from Ibadan. League of Imams is not from Agege. When it was established, it was in a way to bring the Yoruba Muslims together. There's no doubt about that. But the issue commencement. In fact, what has been agreed all over the world is that the different countries of the world should use the moon of the all over the world is that the different countries of the world should use the moon of their own area to commence Ramadan. So, meaning that, like, I'm in Malaysia now, our own Ramadan here was a day later than the other people. Now, in Nigeria, what is said is that for a country like Nigeria, as in the country, for example, like if I pick Malaysia now, everybody in Malaysia started on the same day and ended on the same day. In Nigeria, báwo ló ṣe máa jẹ́ pé àwọn kan bẹ̀rẹ̀ ní north on one day, àwọn kan bẹ̀rẹ̀ ní south on another day. Now, kí wàhálà yẹn má bàa máa ṣẹlẹ̀ over the years, even the Muslim leaders in Yoruba land, àwọn ṣùgbọ́n à ń sọ yìí pé why should we put the authority at the feet of Sultan? That issue is being discussed. But for the purpose of unity, commencement and the rounding off of Ramadan starts same time and ends on the same time. Okay. I can't hear you, please. I said, but on whose authority? The fact that it starts and ends at the same time, on whose authority?
Authority àwọn Mùsùlùmí ni, because the sighting of the moon, the Muslim normal wá oṣù fúnra wọn tó bá ti like what is said is tọ́ba ti rí oṣù yẹn wọ́n á wá sọ fún Sultan pé wọ́n ti rí oṣù báyìí o. The Sultan will now announce.
Point. We're on the same page now. It still has to get through the Sultan. I think that's the issue, to be honest. The question is that if they've been talking about this for all this for, like you said, oh, it's well, so okay, I agree. Why should it be? If you're using unity as a cover, you can use unity for the next 100 years. We are working on this, but for the sake of unity. And see, I don't think it's a religious thing. Who is to say that if the Sultan says this is how things go, then the Yorùbá Muslim can say that because it's your leader and it's permanent. I think the pushback is that this is my question. Just a question that you can speak. Why can the person who sits in the Ogumosho, how come they cannot have that conversation in Yoruba land and people in the north also follow suit?
Now, let me give you an example. Like I said, tí o bá sí Nigeria as a country, this issue will not arise. It will have been among the Yorubas, we announce and we start. Now, and again, for saying that, it doesn't mean that Yorubas have gone against the authority of Sultan before. In the year 2000, the Ọdún Iléyá is done after the mountain of Arafah in Makkah. The Sultan then, I think was it as far as the knowledge of Islam is concerned. So by saying because although the sin kan tó wà nílẹ̀ as far as the knowledge of Islam is concerned. So by saying pé fẹ́ tẹ̀ wọ́n fẹ́ follow ẹ̀ it's still based on pé ó announce nǹkan tó jẹ́ pé ti Islam ni. This current month bá ti pé 29. Now àwọn tó mú déètì lẹ́yìn nsìn if they have said that ẹ̀yin mùsùlùmí lẹ́ Yorùbá ẹ wá oṣù tí this current month bá ti pé 29 tẹ́ bá ti róṣù kẹ́ sọ fún wa o kàn wá announce it would have been better than picking a date ahead.
So my question is this, Dr. Badran, please be sincere. If they go through this process you are saying right now, yes, and they announce it in Yoruba land, will you not still fault it?
The issue here is look at this. I said it.
No, hold on. The process you said they should go through, if they go through that process, they cite the moon and do everything like you said they should do, but decide to announce it like they did, you still have a problem with it, yes or no? I mean, you don't have to say yes or no, but wouldn't you say have a problem with it?
That would be another conversation entirely.
You would want the Sultan to still speak on it because, as far as you're concerned, he's the head of Muslims in Nigeria.
No, it's not about Sultan. It's about the process and the rule to and the way it should be started.
Okay, so for you, it's not because for you. It's about you're not sure. You don't think the process is rightly done.
Yes, because in this one, not on Sheyi, but she máa date lẹ́yìn. Ìmí máa ń wà tó máa coincide pẹ̀lú èyí tí Sultan announce and at those time ó máa the same. So for me it is about the process, not about pé Sultan announce or somebody else low announce.
But you have not answered my question. If they go through the right process, if they go through your own what you consider to be the right process. If they go through that process, who should make that announcement after going through the process you just mentioned?
That will now lead me to the second issue. Like I said in the comment section, Yoruba, there is a problem among the Muslims in Yoruba land, and that to do with who is the leader of Muslims in Yoruba land. The current Mudir want to assert that leadership based on the role his father played. There's no way you want to write the Islam in Yoruba land by removing the name of Sheikh Adam.
No. Let's not do that. This is not about Sheikh Adam. This is about League of Imams and Afad.
No. Look, Mr. Buzi, I'm a Muslim. I know the politics. Sorry.
So one second. And I like what you said. You're a Muslim. I'm not. What I'm saying is that this is how I see it from outside. And again, if you know me, so I'm not trying to speak down on a religion. This is how I see it from outside. I hear Baba Marcus. I hear Akeok Bagod. For me, I'm just hearing different Muslim leaders who are speaking as Yoruba people. But I've noticed that, they have a League of Imams and Afars, and last year they made that decision and they announced it, and some people had the problem with it. It was not about Marcus. It was not about that Babato Adagege. So the issue is that when it comes to who is the leader, what if, and here's the issue, what if the understanding of leadership in Yoruba land, from what I have seen, you can correct me since you are the Muslim, what if the understanding of leadership in Yoruba land, of Islamic leadership in Yoruba land, is not like that of the North? For instance, Yoruba people have Badini. They don't have that in the North. We have Yadini, all kinds of Kini in Yoruba land that they don't have in the North.
I put in comment section that there's always a cultural influence in the way Islam is practiced. Islam Yoruba is not the same as the one in the North. At least
so
in terms of some certain outlook.
So the League of Imams and Afars don't lead in Yoruba. Must we have a particular person like Sultan?
Mr. Busuij, that's why I'm telling you that there's an undercurrent. Just like we are accusing that, how can somebody, Sultan, or assuming that role all the time, no other person checkmating it. It is the same when they say the what do you call it? Conference of Afar and Imam in Yoruba land. Tani Eje. Is the Mudim. Okay, the fact they don't have the mandate of all Yorubas as far as the Muslim Yoruba is concerned.
No. So I don't agree with you, and I'm not a Muslim, and I'll tell you why. You are making a collective argument seem as though it's about a sect. This is what I know. You might correct me if I'm wrong. Babalagege is the leader of that particular body of Muslims, but he has great influence amongst Yoruba Muslims or among Muslims generally. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
He leads a let's say a congregation. Let's just use that word. He leads only the Joka, but he has influence amongst all Muslims, right? But that doesn't mean that
among Muslims in Yoruba land.
In Yoruba, even beyond, the new influence beyond. But then you now have League of Imams. So just pé àwọn tó jẹ́ irú àwọn tó wà ní agbègbè àwọn tó wà níbà àwọn tó wà níbà tó wà níbà ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìjọ wọ́n wá kóra wọn pọ̀. Wọ́n jẹ́ League of Imams. League of Imams ò kì í ṣe bóyá under Marcus.
Èèyàn kan.
Àbí?
Yes.
Kì í ṣe èèyàn kan.
Yes.
So League of Imams yẹn wá jẹ́ pé wọ́n jẹ́ bí aṣojú fún gbogbo wa. Bí ìgbà tẹ́ pé bí ìgbà tó bá ṣe can.
They are supposed to. There are many other Muslims in Yoruba land that are not part of it.
Wait. I am not part of. Okay, let me explain how this thing works. You can have an organization that represents people, and there are people that practice that faith that don't belong to the organization. It does not mean the organization will not still represent the people. Let me give an example. There are many Christians whose churches don't belong to CAN. It doesn't change the fact that CAN is the organization that represents Christians. The point is, if we are talking about but you said there is no particular person. My question, why should there be a particular person? Since you're not trying to become a sultan, you have a body, they choose their leader, and I see it, they pronounce something. I even saw let me show you a picture. Let me see if I can find you the picture. The person that's leading them now, if I find his name, I'll let you know. That'll be chairman. Again, if a Muslim or Christian understand, this is not League of Imam. This is chairman of League of Imam. Let me show you the picture, and you can tell me who this person is, please. The Grand Mufti of Yoruba land. Uncle Sibe, chairman.
Yes. Yes, I know him. He was just recently, not too long installed as the Mufti. Not too long.
What is on your color? So they picked somebody, what he appointed he as Mufti. So if they appointed this person, why are we now saying we don't have a particular person that is leading Muslims in Yoruba land when we know that they already appointed this?
You know one thing. Yorùbá sọ pé gbogbo aṣọ kọ́ la máa ń sá lórùn. Yes. Fair enough. So there are some things happening among Muslims in Yoruba land that kò kí n ṣe irú platform báyìí àti wọn máa sọ. But I can tell you.
I agree. So my last question. Yes. Let's not go deep into it because I don't want you to. Let's not turn it into something else. My last question. Do you think it's okay for them to decide that they don't want to take things or take instructions, with all due respect, from Sokoto, that they want to be able to also determine what they want to do as Yoruba people, knowing that Yoruba is a nation? Yoruba is a nation. It is a nation. Yoruba is a nation.
Yes.
We don't have sovereignty over a nation, just like Scotland doesn't have sovereignty. So Scotland is a nation. So Yoruba is a nation. A nation decides what they want to do amongst themselves. Muslims there decide that.
Yes.
So is that a problem? Must they always? Are they doing something wrong according to Islam?
No, it may not be totally. It may not be wrong if you consider Yoruba as a nation. It's not wrong. That we want to. It's not wrong, right? But what we are saying is that there is that lack of unity and inclusiveness as far as Muslim in Yoruba land is concerned. That is the major problem.
You will not have everybody at once. Everybody will join as time goes on. But the people to now
like I said, I will go back to what I said earlier. If Boshe saw you can't process to move is process to Islam basically. All well and good.
Okay.
Well, but the issue is that picking the date ahead, that is not what Islam says. The way commencement of Ramadan should be. It should be search for the month. Yes.
Okay. Inside Jazeera, what best yinko? She will not wrong. Ti won so be date she marry for the next 2056.
Yes. Yes. You know we are evolving in terms of technological advancement. Right? We can use it, but it does not mean that, just like we say, technology could fail, isn't it? But then we should use it to fine tune whatever we want to do. We got him on soil.
Let me give an example.
We got him on soil.
Al Jazeera. This is what Al Jazeera said, though.
Yes.
It's actually quite interesting. What Al Jazeera actually put out is the same thing as what League of Imams in Yoruba land put out. And for some reason, people have a problem with what Al Jazeera said, but they have a problem with what the League of Imams is saying. Anyway, Al Jazeera said February 18, 2026 in Todui. Then they have for 2027, 2028, all the way to 2056 with exact dates. They now said subject to moon sighting. So exactly. I would say, so this is what we are going to say. Maybe Yoruba people want to do their things like folks in Dubai or in UAE, and they say, you know what, it's February 18, but before they are going to be different, just like you do it abroad. My question is that they are Yoruba people. It's a nation. They can decide how they want to do their own. Why must it be subject to another person from another ethnicity? And again, please let me explain something. It's not that there's something wrong with listening to somebody from another ethnicity. I'm a Christian. My pastor could be a Hausa man. That's not the point. The point is that the person who is having the conversation is also a political leader. In other words, when you look through history in Hausa land, the man that was occupying the office of the Sultan is not just, he's doing two things. He's leading the people politically, but also leading them from a form of religion. So today now, there are two co-chairmen of the traditional rulers in Nigeria. is the Oni and the Sultan. The two of them are the permanent co-chairmen. Now imagine the Oni being the one telling Christians in different parts of Nigeria how they must do their thing, subject to whatever committee he has, but he's the permanent chairman of that committee on religion. So the issue is not that there's something wrong with someone from another ethnicity leading your, because I see a lot of things on social media. I just feel like I should talk about it. You can have a Muslim leader who is not a Nigerian, who is not a Yoruba, who could even be Hausa, it could be Kanuri, it could be anything. Or could be anybody. I don't think that spirituality is limited to geography. Personally, and it's fact.
Yeah.
I can prove it, whether in Christianity, in Islam, or even traditional religion. There are many people that observe it. But the point is that when you notice that there's a historical precedence, then there's a political angle to the conversation. You can't just have it like, we can follow anybody. I think that's where the thing is coming from. And personally, I respect the elders, the League of Imams, and I think they're doing the right thing, personally. And the reason is because Papa is on ọ̀tọ̀ nílùú, ọ̀tọ̀ lòṣèlú, ọ̀tọ̀ lẹ̀sìn. Tó bá tọ̀rọ̀ ẹlẹ́sìn dé, èmi ò sábà fẹ́ dá sí lórí social media. Àfi tó bá kó kẹ́ni yìí ó mọ nǹkan tó ń sọ, ká wá gbé ìfọ̀rọ̀ àwọn ká jọ máa sọ̀rọ̀ gan. Kò dẹ̀ ní bínú tá a bá sọ̀rọ̀ débi kan, bọ̀ kò sábà ṣẹlẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n tó bá jẹ́ ọ̀rọ̀ pé ìjẹ́ Yorùbá, àwọn League of Imam lójú tèmi ò ìjẹ́ Yorùbá náà ń ṣe. Ìyẹn ò túmọ̀ sí wípé wọn ní bá àwọn Hausa ṣe àbọ̀ wọn ní bá Fúlàní ṣe àbọ̀ wọn máa bá lójú tèmi o. I think you should be with everybody, obey the Muslim to the Igbo. But once you notice that there's a political conversation, you can't just say, oh, it doesn't really matter. Especially because of what we're noticing in the last few years. For instance, and I've mentioned the other time, they say things like, don't prostrate to your parents. I don't know where those are. I know where they come from. Them not say it. I know, but I won't say it. I don't want to say I don't know because I know. They came from a particular place. I just started teaching all kinds of doctrines in Yoruba land. You must not prostrate for your parent. You must not kinika. The things that you are doing as a Yoruba person, you cannot do it. Now, they are questioning your traditions and your culture. Now, if the thing is anti-faith, I get it. For instance, if they're saying that I get it. But why would you tell a person not to prostrate for the parents? The point is this: in the palace of the Emir of Ilorin, one of the palace of the Emir of Ilorin, one of Kuru, one ga, one bere. And then you come out dobale. Is there anything wrong with respecting the Emir? Of course, there's nothing wrong. But is there something wrong with the king doing that? Of course, there's everything wrong with it. No, but is there something wrong with telling Yoruba people not to respect something, but you respect? In other words, you are going to get to a point where your own culture needs to see more. But once you not mention anything in the name of Islam, what is happening to you is that just like politics can be weaponized, religion is also being weaponized. But I hope we're on the same page, and I'm sure you know where I'm coming from.
That's why I said there are some conversations that are still, there are so many that are ongoing. We are moving towards so that we can always be the pace setter as we have always been.
Thank you very much, Eshel. All right, thank you very much for listening to that. I thought it was an interesting exchange, especially when Dr. Badri came up. And I'm also glad that the intention wasn't misunderstood, because that's very important. And the reason I'm saying all this, of course, from what we listen to, is that I saw a video last week, and it was on Imam who talked to Yorùbá sọ èdè Yorùbá ló fi sọ wípé tí Sultan bá sọ nǹkan kan tí àwọn kan wá wà tán láwọn ò gba ọ̀nà yẹn wípé ẹ̀sìn fún àwọn ní àǹfààní láti pa ẹni yẹn. mi gbọ́ kí èèyàn fi Yorùbá sọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ rí. Báwo wá sọ pé ẹ̀sìn fún ẹ ní àǹfààní láti pa èèyàn torí pé kò gbọ́ nǹkan tí Sultan sọ? Ta ni ta ló fi Sultan ṣó lórí ilẹ̀ Yorùbá? It's important to have this conversation again. This is not disrespect, like I don't mean any disrespect to anybody and all of those things, but we've got to be very careful of how things go. Number one, someone said, and I think I should probably mention some of the things that some people have said about, why it's important that the things come from the north. Someone said earlier today that the north always sees the moon first, and that is why Yoruba people. This was on YouTube, by the way. The video is on YouTube. So one of the comments in there that someone said, "But Yoruba, that we call them Araokioya because they see the moon first." Now that is not true. We call folks from the north. Please, can you hear me? If you're on TikTok, can you hear me? I just want to be sure, this thing is working properly, because I have to switch. If you're on TikTok and you can hear me, please just say hello, just to be sure. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Layami. And if you want to come up, please feel free to send your request. Anyone who wants to speak, please feel free to send your request. I'll bring you up momentarily. All right. So the person was like, "Oh, we call them Okeoya because they see." Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Dungos and Mr. Lujide Eshegon. That because they see the moon first. I don't know geography that tells people that folks in the north will see the moon. I mean, there were times where they sighted the moon in Yoruba land, and then of course they reported to the I think they call them NCIA, which is quite nice, right? Religious brotherhood and all of those things. But I think it's important to quickly say this: we don't call people from Okeoya. We don't call people from the north Okeoya because they sight the moon before others. Okeoya, I mean, this is not part of today's talk, but because somebody said it in the comment section, may I answer? Okeoya has nothing to do with moon sighting. Yoruba people call River Niger Odoya. Odoya. Anything to bati koja River Niger up is called Oke Oya. The river itself is called Odoya. The people on the other side of the river are living in Oke, just like Oke Isale Ko, Oke Messi. So once you hear Oke, that means that on the other side or on a higher plane or higher ground. So Okeoya has nothing to do with moon sighting. It's literally we call Odoya. That's what we call River Niger. Now, somebody also asked that since Islam came from the north, it makes sense that Yoruba people would, submit to the leadership of the Sultan. That's ridiculous. Yoruba people did not get Islam from the north. Olayemi says the name of Kwara in Yoruba is Oya State. Yes, Kwara is Nupe word actually. But Kwara is a Nupe word, but we call the body of the river Oya, Odoya. So thank you for adding that as well. Yoruba people did not get Islam from the north, right? We were interacting with Muslims long before Usman and Fodio even got, before his forebears got to these shores. Okay, Islam got you, and I think we should have. I think Comrade mentioned how we stopped that series on Islam. We're going to continue very soon. Islam got to Yoruba people through traders or through trading, and it wasn't Hausa traders; it was Malian traders from Mali. They were the ones who first introduced Islam to us, Yoruba people. And that's why we call the religion Esimole. Imole is Yoruba way of saying Mali. Now, there's something about us, Yoruba people. If you give us a word, we always find a way to add vowels. Okay, in most cases, the vowels will be at the end. But in some other cases, we also have vowels at the beginning, even if the word itself is consonant. So Mali is Mali, but we'll call it Imali. And I also know people say things like, oh, Esin Lile, Esin Imolile. That's not what Imole is. Imole is Esin Tola Tiodo Imole. Imole are the folks from Mali. So we had Islam, right, long before our interaction with Fulani. And there's nothing wrong with interacting with Fulani people. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But here's the issue. The Sultan is a religious, or let me put it this way, is a traditional ruler. He's not the Sultan of Muslims, he's the Sultan of Sokoto. It's a traditional title. He's a co-chairman of Traditional Council, in Nigeria. There are two, the Oni of Ife and the Sultan. They are both co-chairmen. So he's a traditional ruler of his people. But you see, in the north, because of the way they structured politics, when I say politics, I'm talking about traditional politics, not Nigerian politics. The way they structured it after the jihad of Usman and Fodio was to mix religion and culture or tradition. So the traditional ruler is also essentially the most senior religious ruler in his space. So it makes sense for them that Sultan will be the religious leader for them because also they're traditional ruler. To be honest, right, if you look through even Yorùbá culture, our kings are also spiritual heads, not priests, spiritual heads. Every king in Yorùbá land is both a traditional ruler and a spiritual head of his people. All our kings, that's how it has always been. Even before we had city states, we've always had a situation where the head of the community is also the spiritual head of our space. So every town has a king and each king is the head of that people. Every town has a king and each king is the head of that people. But the connection we have with the person we call the head of all Yoruba people, when we say Ife is our source, is not religious. It is ancestral. We say Ife is our source not because, there are religions that connect us across Yoruba land, but it's not that. It's actually ancestry. And there are other things that connect us, but primarily we look at it from blood ties, not from religion. So if, for instance, you can't have a person like the Oni telling all Christians in Nigeria how to do things, he knows he's the head of Ife people. He can be our father as Yoruba people because he's the head of that source. The same way, folks in Hausa land can decide that the Sultan is the head, but you cannot transpose that and make it the head of all Nigerians or Nigerian Muslims. And I think a lot of people don't get what this is about. And Baba, like again, Mark he mentioned it, that it's about understanding boundaries. And he said something very powerful. I don't want to spend time on it. I didn't want to spend time on it when we listened to it. When he said, tó gbé kó bá àlàáfíà mu àbí kò ń ṣe nǹkan téèyàn lè èèyàn gbọ́dọ̀ lo àwọn àdìtì yẹn kó ní àlàáfíà ládùúgbò àbí ní àwùjọ. In other words, and I've noticed it with Yoruba Muslims, and this is why I respect everybody, but I have huge respect for Yoruba Muslims, and that's why I'm very careful when people have conversations about Islam generally. He said that there are hadiths that they what's the word now? They don't regard, they disregard. And he said because those hadiths will not lead to harmonious relationships in society, therefore they will disregard those hadiths. I'll give you an example where I know that this thing is not just him saying it, it's something that when Deborah was unalived, when she was killed in the north, I was part of a conversation and I was just listening, because it's better to listen if you don't know much about things, apparently. The Northerners were quoting hadiths as a basis for what they did. She had to die. This is what this person said. This is what this hadith said. This is what this tafsir said. They had to kill her because she blasphemed and everything. all of them were not Muslims. The Yorùbá Muslims got there, not Christians. They were all Muslims. The Yorùbá Muslim gets there and they ask the same question. And I was like, we don't have to follow the hadith because they're not even the words of the Prophet. And I'm like, clearly, these people have different ways of saying stuff. I'm not talking about whether they are Sufi or they are Salafis. That's not even the point. The point is that the understanding of their text or of their religion was essentially different. Whether it was not because of the influence of culture or education or whatever, or civilization, whatever it was definitely different. Which is why I give grace to Yoruba Muslims. And also the reason we talk like this, and someone said in your conscience, like you're playing the devil's advocate or something. That's not what this is about. And I've said it here before. The very first Yoruba Quran that was Reverend Cole. When a Yoruba Muslim eventually translated Quran from Arabic into Yoruba language, people, even Muslims, still preferred Reverend Cole's own because he translated from English to Yoruba. The other man translated from Arabic to Yoruba, and then he didn't get some words correctly according to Muslims. If it was someone else or another group, they might find fault in it just because that person. But that's not how we roll in Yoruba land. So the conversation is not, again, like I said, it's not about religion. It's about understanding the patterns, knowing that people have a tendency to want to, influence certain things. You should understand that you can't keep shouting, "Oh, it doesn't really matter." And I see this online. There's no tribalism in Islam. All of us are the same. You are joking. Am I saying this because I want you to, have this harmony in your religion? Of course not. But it would be foolhardy for you to assume that everybody in any religion, they don't think about their own ethnicity. They're just thinking about if there is no tribalism in Islam, how come you've not had any Sultan who wasn't Fulani? How come you've not had anybody lead Muslims who wasn't Fulani? How come after the jihad, Usman Afodio didn't leave everything open? And by the way, like I said in one video, I think it was probably one of the, not even probably, he was one of the smartest people, right, in Nigeria's history. Sheikh Usman Afodio, he was brilliant. He was brilliant. If you sit down to understand his strategy, brothers and sisters, that man was brilliant. What he cooked, people have not finished eating it. It's been almost 2 centuries. What he cooked, the man was brilliant. So that you can't even divorce faith from ethnicity. That's you. The people who are actually controlling the whole stuff, they know exactly what's happening. And that's why if you notice the video that we played the other day, where the governor of Bauchi was talking about Fulani coming into Nigeria, he didn't care about your Islam. He was talking about his ethnicity. And he was saying that they are global citizens, the African citizens, they can move anywhere. You are still shouting that your brother. Go there and go and tell him that you can say the same thing on your own, in your own ethnicity as he's saying. They'll not tell exactly what's the difference. I think we should be very smart about all of these things. It's important to love everybody and respect everybody, but you have to also understand autonomy. And being in Nigeria does not mean you should lose your cultural autonomy or your distinctness just because you want to show that, oh, we are united. You can be united and still understand our differences, right? And as we say this in politics, it's also important to say, and like I said, it's not just about Islam. It's the same thing I will say to Christians when they hear things like, "Church, take back your country." That statement is not a religious statement. It's a political statement. The person telling you, "Church, take back your country," is not saying it from a Christian standpoint. He's trying to use the church to get some votes. But for some reason, I think when we get to religion, people just suspend reason. Everybody just starts, arguing. You don't understand that you have to go beyond the facade. Like, oh, he's sounding very religious. Irony. Church, take back your country has nothing to do with you. Even if you're a born again Christian, tongue talking, Bible thumping, it doesn't matter. He's just saying that so that he can, get you riled up. And they say, "Oh, I want to take back my country." You're wrong. You're all awesome. So, and like I'm trying to come up, religion is not necessarily evil, but it can be a tool for domination and for subjugation. and any religion can be weaponized. But we want to make sure that, whatever you do, just make sure that your Yoruba identity is not subsumed in an assumption that everybody is the same. You are the one who thinks like that. And don't come up with theories of all of us are the same. That's just the theory. In reality, people know their basis. Everybody knows exactly where they belong. And I think we should know that. Other people and still maintain our own identity. We don't want to have a situation where everything that happens in the north happens here because we don't know the difference. We're shouting there's no tribalism. It's just a joke. All right. So I'm going to speak to this matter and then we'll see where we go from there. All right. There's someone trying to come up. This is Yemi Plus. Okay. You're coming up. Now, if you'd like to be part of the conversation, please feel free to send your request. I'll bring you up and we can talk about it. Hello, Yemi Plus. Good evening. Hello. Sorry. Okay. All right. I guess Yemi Plus is not available at the moment. Or maybe he made a mistake sending his request in the first place. But I hope we communicated the idea itself. Ramadan starts tomorrow, and apparently, here's the crazy part: when the Sultan also spoke, it's still tomorrow. When they spoke in UAE tomorrow, Qatar tomorrow is all February 18. Why Yoruba people can lead and everybody follows. And again, I'm not saying cultural supremacy, I'm saying cultural autonomy. You're able to also say this is how we do our things here, and also regardless of your faith. This is what I believe, and this is how I've lived my life. I'm a Christian, proudly so, but this is something I've noticed. You see, if a person wants to build a cult or wants to, essentially build a cult or just change the order of things, one of the things they do is to try to separate you from something that you are connected to. One of the most important things you're connected to is your identity. Some cults will do that to family. They will break the family apart because they don't want you to have to listen to family members. In some other cases, they attack the religious identity and tell you that you are now in this particular faith. And many sects do that. So it's not about a particular religion. And they do that because they want to isolate you and then pump into you what they want you to believe. This thing has happened in the UK. It's so bad today that Middle Eastern governments are refusing to send their own children to school in the UK for fear that they will be radicalized in the UK. Anything can go, anything goes. That's how UK became, hopefully it gets better. Think about it for a second. How can governments in the Middle East be afraid that their children will be radicalized in the UK and they will get into radical Islamism, they become radical Muslims in the UK? That's not even an Islamic nation. How did it start? With all this thing of it doesn't really matter, they're just asking for something, let's just do it together, we're just all friends, it's not that deep. And this started in the 1960s when they started this whole multiculturalism move in the UK, when the Prince Charles said it was going to be called the Defender of the Faiths instead of Defender of the Faith. When they were trying to show that they were now, globalized citizens of the world and all that interesting things. Now, I want to the owners, if I can use, that's where the religion, that's where it's from, Abi. Middle East, they are now afraid of sending their children to school, to go to university in the UK, because they are afraid that they will be radicalized there. So I don't think we should be, just sipping my ties and saying, oh, it doesn't really matter until something like that happens in Yoruba land, and say, oh, Yoruba land, we don't do like that now. We are not like the extremists. We just want to make sure that we make sure things are well sorted. There's one more thing I wanted to say. A while back, there was an attack in a part of Kwara State, and media folks went to interview the Oni, and he said something very interesting. He said the way we pushed them back in 1840, we're going to do it again. When he said that, I was very proud. I was like, yes, this is it. He said the way we pushed them back in 1840, we'll do it again. What was he talking about? He was talking about the war with the Fulani. And this is what Yoruba people need to understand. On the Yoruba side, right, there were Muslims who were Yoruba people. There were Muslims who were Yoruba who went to war to fight the Fulani and make sure they did not, get into our land the way they were coming, because in their minds, we're going to dip the Quran in the ocean. They were Muslims, they were Yoruba, and they fought the other side. Left to some of the things I'm hearing, it's as if some people will leave Yoruba land, go and join the enemy and rout Yoruba land and take over the whole place. And say, oh, after all, it's just about religion. That means that and to be honest, let's make it very clear, our fathers are wiser than us. Forget degrees, forget, scientific, whatever. Our fathers, they were more intelligent. And it takes humility to acknowledge that. And so, please, maybe once in a while, just drop these degrees. I went to school, I went to Oxford, Cambridge. That's okay. It has its own place. But understand, native intelligence is not something just discard. They were Muslims, and they saw the Fulani getting into Yoruba land, and the goal was to get to the ocean. And the Yoruba people, Muslims or what against that group to make sure that they secured Yoruba land. That is understanding cultural identity and the supremacy of your ethnicity when it comes to things like that. But the way you are, just ask yourself, regardless of your religion. Thank you very much for the gift, Dev Africa. Thank you. Regardless of your faith, let me ask you a question, and ask yourself this on your own. If something were to happen and Yoruba land, people want to come to Yoruba land and destroy the whole place and everything, whose side are you going to join? You see, some of us we're not thinking straight. By the time they are done with you, you will not have a plot about, you will not have a foot of land to your name. And what I like about the strategists is that they will use that religion to get you to fight against your own people, then they will discard you. It happened with Sholak Beru in Ilorin. Sholak Beru was a friend of Afonja. And I know we criticize Afonja a lot. And yes, he messed up in some things. But when the Fulani were fighting him, it was Abubakar at the time, the son of Alimi. When they were fighting and he sent for Sholak Beru to help him, he did not help him. Sholak Beru was a Yoruba Muslim. Afonja was a Yoruba man who allowed Muslims to thrive. He himself was not a Muslim, but he had the Jama, he had the army that he was working with. And they had religious brotherhood. Despite the fact that I was the one that actually allowed them into that place, they dislodged him. And the Sholak Beru that did not help him, eventually, when they were ready for him, the same people that was on their side, they killed him as well and took over the entire space. I'm saying that be free to practice any religion. And again, I don't believe in all this thing of you have to do this particular religion to prove that you're Yoruba. That's nonsense. Anybody can choose. You can choose any religion, or you can even choose not to be part of any religion. It's your right. But you see, that Yoruba-ness, that's your Yoruba identity. You can't jettison it for anything and say, oh, it doesn't really matter. It does. That's the reason you're even Nigerian. That's the reason you can even join that faith. Because when you were born into that ethnicity. You were not born into any religion. Because religion, for the most part, you may be raised in one, but you can choose to change it. You can grow up in a particular home. I'm a Christian, and even as Christians, we say that you can't be born a Christian. Well, is another debate. But we can talk about Christian, maybe cultural Christianity, like they say in the UK now. But when it comes to the real Christian experience, it's personal. But the point is, regardless of the faith that your parents belong, you can decide to change. You can't change your ethnic identity. It's always there. In other words, which is why, regardless of the faith that you choose, you shouldn't, right, just trivialize the ethnic identity and say it doesn't really matter. There's no tribalism. The same way they say there's no tribalism in Nigeria, I'm detribalized Nigerian. It's the same way some people say there's no tribalism in religion, I'm detribalized. Both of them are not thinking straight. You've got to know who you are, be proud of who you are, and be proud of whatever you belong to. For instance, I'm Nigerian. I don't have to jettison Nigeria for Yoruba. But if I have to choose, I will choose my Yoruba identity. Why? Because Yoruba identity is older, is richer, is exactly who I am. The Nigerian thing was what came up much later. And I'm Nigerian because my Yoruba side happened to fall within these borders when the British came. But I don't have to choose, thankfully. So I can be Yoruba and Nigerian. You can be Yoruba and Christian. You can be Yoruba and traditional worshiper. You can be Yoruba and Muslim. You can be Yoruba and Buddhist. Whatever you want to do. You can be Yoruba, be atheist. But you can't downplay your Yorubaness. And I think it's something that we should be very, very careful of, so that we don't become those people that become willing tools, right? Like the Sadawana said, willing tools in the hands of those who actually know how to use you. Because you can't, you see, if a person doesn't know how to use themselves, they will use them. And when they use them, they may even use them against themselves, which is quite sad. And I hope that will not be our experience in Yoruba land. There's something I wanted to read there. If I find it, I'm going to read it. If not, we'll talk about it. But let me just announce that tomorrow, I promise that tomorrow that this week, we're going to listen to Chief Samuel Ladoke Akintola. That will be tomorrow. And we're going to play a tape tomorrow. And I would like as many people to actually engage his ideas. We're going to play a tape tomorrow. It's going to be a bit long. We're going to play the tape. We'll listen to it and talk about it in the light of today's politics. What SLE said in the 60s. That'll be the topic of conversation tomorrow. All right. Then on Thursday, we're going to continue with our trial, the arrest. We'll focus on that on Thursday. But we'll be here tomorrow, Wednesday, 4 p.m. Ife time, West African time. And we're going to be dissecting the views of Chief Samuel Ladoke Akintola. One of the things I also want us to remember as Yoruba people, regardless of your faith, regardless of who you love, I love Awo, clearly. You can still learn from others, and you shouldn't throw the baby away with the bathwater. Right? There are certain things, as I said, that we need to understand in order to be able to make progress in Nigeria. Even in life, there are some things that I said are very, very important. So we're going to listen to that tomorrow. And every week, Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll listen to someone like an elder, could be a politician, could be a professor, it could be, but I have a number of them, lined up that I'll be listening to, and then we can discuss. Okay? I'm sure we're going to have a great time tomorrow when we listen to that. We're also going to listen to Chief Bolage very soon. Papa, we have more of his books than his recordings, more people to listen to. And then we have lecturers, we have thoughts, leaders, professors, politicians, lawyers, all kinds of great men, military guys, go on. We'll listen to as many of them as possible, and then we'll discuss those things and learn from them. Okay. I think we have one person who wants to come up. Let's bring that person up. Batunde sounds like French Yoruba. Hello, good evening. Can you hear me? Okay. Click on Kinini. Let's call it a day. Okay. It's Tuesday, so we don't stay very long anyway. But I hope you had a great time, and I hope, regardless of your faith, you also understand the motivation for this. People have said things like, oh, people are trying to destroy Yoruba land, and that's why they are going after Muslims. I don't think anybody should be going after anybody based on their religion. But if you belong to a faith, and people are doing things that are inimical to the growth of your race or your ethnicity, and you keep mum, you are the problem. And you should just understand that that is the truth. Okay, but nobody should be, again, like I always say, I don't understand why people like extremes. Oh, if you are Muslim, you are Eru Arab, you are Arab slave. If you are Muslim, you are not King. Why do people like it? When the person actually understands, how to compartmentalize, and as a person, this must come to you naturally. I don't even know what it comes to you naturally because you're Yoruba. You know, in a larger extended family, there are people in that family that believe in something else than you do. You cannot be this. You cannot be this. So let's be careful. Let's. But if people start telling you that, if everybody's telling you that you are doing the wrong thing, you are using, maybe you should check. But generally speaking, I think everybody should attribute anybody what to do, what to believe, but also don't let your faith become the pathway that the enemy will use to destroy your people. That's inimical to our growth. All right. Thank you very much for being part of today's session. We're going to listen to our anthems. I don't see comment. 1 second. Let me check Facebook and YouTube before we go. I want to make sure that I'm carrying enough folks there along. I'll just quickly check. One more. All right, we have someone on Facebook here. Mr. Femi says the people that will be antagonizing the League of Imams will be Yoruba. They are receiving money from. All right, we have someone on Facebook here. Mr. Femi says the people that will be antagonizing the League of Imams will be Yoruba. They are receiving money from Ilorin and Sokoto. You would never see Fulani from Ilorin or Sokoto that will criticize Yoruba leaders. Never see Fulani from Ilorin or Sokoto that will criticize Yoruba League of Imams. But I want Yoruba. They have never done anything good in Yoruba land and don't have any good plan for Yoruba land. They are enemy of Yorubas. Wow. Well, that's heavy, but I think he has a point. He has a point. And it's something that we do. We do it in politics. We do it, Yoruba people. We want to prove to the other person that I'm Okota and She. And interestingly, what we are proving, we're actually losing ground. Okay? Right? I think we should be wiser than that, to be honest. The point is not that anybody's attacking anybody's religion, but you should guard what's yours. Mr. Latin, good evening, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. All right. That's actually a very good way to end today's session. If the Fulani are very smart not to go after the leaders, I think we should also I'm not a Muslim, but if I were, I would be listening to the League of Imams and Afars, because again, I think it's important. We must know this thing. All of us must learn it. Yoruba is a nation. We don't have nation, just like Scotland is a nation even without sovereignty. If you think like that, I'm telling you, you understand where people are coming from. You think like you belong to something. It's not like you're just one tribe living under a shrub. You are a nation. with or without sovereignty. And you should know this in politics. We should all know this because it's going to help us with many things. If you know that you're a nation, then you know how to move. As a Yoruba man, Timoje nation, why would I want to subject myself to another ethnicity in the name of whatever? For instance, when this thing happened in Lagos and they appointed some leaders in NBA, Nigerian Bar Association, they said they were rotating. I said, what kind of nonsense is this? What do you mean you're rotating? Between the ethnicity, one Yoruba and Igbo, and like, what kind of nonsense is that? It's also that thing where you think the definition of nation is Nigeria. Nigeria is not a nation. Nigeria is a country of many nations. But if you don't understand that you're already a nation and that you have your own space, you will in the name of trying to prove that you're detribalized, you'll be losing grounds. And the person who you're losing grounds to, two things. Number one, will not do it back home where they are coming from. Number two, even if they did it back home, how many of your own people go to their own home? We need to be very conscious of the idea of ownership. This is ours. This belongs to us. We can share, but it is ours. Not all this thing of if you're not going to take it with you to heaven, you can leave it to your children when you are gone. Okay, I think we have one person here. Let's have this copy. Prince Wadebo says Yorubaness. Yes, Yorubaness. I don't even want to say over religion, to be honest. And I'll tell you why. Because I think some people also think that. What's it called? 1 second, please. Please mute. I think some people also push back when you say Yorubaness to religion because they think that you're saying that religion is not important. Okay. Me, I'm a father, but I'm a son to someone. Okay? I don't have to choose. I don't have to choose. So you can't come to me now and say, are you a dad or a son? Then I'll say, I'm thinking about it. I'm both. I'm both. If, for instance, something happens and, my kids need something at that particular moment, but the point is, you don't have to. I don't know. You don't have to choose, unless, of course. Let me say, for instance, let's say one is telling you to kill the other. Then you know that you're crossing the line. But you don't even have to choose. But like I said earlier, your ethnic identity is permanent. Okay, and I think where conflict usually happen is, let's say, for instance, you have an instruction from your faith or from your religion that contradicts the culture. And I'll give an example. For the most part, what people consider to be, and this is very important by the way, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it. What people consider to be contradictory in Yoruba culture is not even Yoruba culture. It's actually traditional religions in Yoruba culture, in Yoruba land. So what they are confusing is they are confusing Yoruba culture and Yoruba traditional religions. So they assume that the things they are saying is against their own religion. And I'm wondering how. And it's also the other extreme where people say things like Yoruba culture. If you don't do Yoruba traditional religion, you're not Yoruba. That's also nonsense. It's a religion that was started at some point. People can choose whatever they want to choose. So, but the point is, if this culture, and there's nothing wrong in the culture. And I give an example earlier about prostrating. When someone said you cannot prostrate to people, I'm like, why should you say to me that I can't prostrate? I was talking to a Muslim this afternoon, interestingly, just before I came on the live stream. I was talking and I said, why? I was asking this person, I asked some questions and I said that this idea that people should not prostrate doesn't really make sense. And then he said something to me. He said that was actually a problem that they're having in their family, that they just had a conversation about it earlier today. His brother was angry that his children, right, did not agree with one low show. And that one is an affair. And it was like, why would they be squatting? And I said to him, this squatting you guys are talking about, do you know that is acceptable in Arab culture.
So the question is not even about the religion.
You think you are doing it because you are Muslims? No, you are doing it because you are jettisoning your culture for the culture of those who gave you the religion. So the question is not even about the religion. It's about the fact that you don't even understand the separation of that religion and the culture of those people. For instance, if a person becomes a traditional Yoruba religious person, let's say the person, and we have a lot of whites, a lot of Europeans who have become traditional Yoruba worshippers. But here's the point: when they become that, whether they wear agbada or not, they will still be that. I have met a number of them. Okay, many of them will wear agbada because they are trying to have immersion into Yoruba culture. But regardless of what they are wearing, that clothes they are wearing is our culture. The religion they are doing doesn't have anything to do with the culture. Or let me put it this way, it can be separated from the culture. It's the same way you can be a Muslim and you don't have to be wearing, Javia and Madela one, Nikomade, Toban.
As Yoruba people, and be able to do whatever faith they want to do, as long as what they are doing is not inimical to
Be, comfortable in their own skin as Yoruba people, and be able to do whatever faith they want to do, as long as what they are doing is not inimical to the growth of Yoruba people. And again, like I said, your ethnicity is your identity, and everybody knows this. And I'll tell you, if there's any group in this country called Nigeria that understands the distinction between ethnic identity and religion, is the Fulani, and they are very smart about it.
listen to their leaders.
Very smart about it. I don't know how people don't get it. The Fulani get it. Jesus, they get it. Listen to their leaders, read their books, study the jihad. They get it. I don't. The funny thing is, even the most quote unquote uneducated person, I use that respectfully, like the person that didn't go to school. I met a Fulani years ago who told me that they own Nigeria.
The boldness,
This guy was on an Okada.
the confidence he had, the audacity. Most of us,
And he was not talking about Muslims, he was talking about his ethnicity. The boldness, the gumption, the confidence he had, the audacity.
exactly what they're discussing.
Most of us will never use that over Yoruba land alone,
Doesn't really care.
let alone Nigeria, because you're trying to hide behind one finger. They know exactly what they're discussing. And if you're talking to a person who doesn't really care about their ethnic identity, they can use anything to take away what. And you may not like what they're doing, but it's what you do to people who don't have sense. If a person doesn't think that what his father gave him is important, why can't they? Why shouldn't they lose it? You may say, "Oh, that person is taking it from him," but you don't even need it in the first place. You don't even consider it to be useful. So the person who thinks it's useful will take it from you. And they'll be like, but we are the same religion. Okay, if we're the same religion, follow me. You follow till. Do you know that it's been about 200 years actually? The Hausas rising against Fulani is not even up to 10 years. I mean, they've always been doing that, to be fair. They've been doing that since the 1940s and 50s. But like when you have like a critical mass, and it's not even up to a critical mass yet, if we're being honest. But at least it's beyond the elites now. You see that among the common people, and I've heard them say it. And even that is not a critical mass yet. So think of how they were able to succeed, in getting them to be subservient for 2 centuries. And that's why I said Sheikh Madam Fodio is one of the smartest human beings that ever moved in this country called Nigeria. Well, it wasn't Nigeria at the time, but you get what I mean. It was brilliant, and he did it very well. All right, but I hope we all learn from this. Let's listen to other people before we go. Vodi, and then one more person. Hello, Vodi. Good evening.
Good evening, House. I hope you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Prof, wonderful work.
Yes, sir.
And amazing personality. I will never regret. I stumbled on your page, and I think I've been enlightened enough to educate my family. I think one of the problems I think we had is that we are. I think this whole detribalization came from the education we claim we master. We are forced at it. I think we ran away with the education so much that we almost jettisoned our own culture. If not for the fact that some people are trying to come to terms with it. When you mentioned the MBA issue, And I was wondering, and in my head, what got to my head was that I think one of the problems we had then, or where this whole detribalization became a central thing, was the Lagos thingy, the old Lagos, fronting for Nigeria. Like Lagos became federal, then there's all these federal appointments, and there is this feeling that an average an average elite in the Yoruba culture wants to assimilate everybody, wants to accommodate everybody, doesn't want to offend any other culture. We just want to carry them along. And over years, it is now, hitting back at us, and we're trying to fight it. So I pray, I hope we're in the right path. So I think one of the things that could also help us, I think there was a time that Lagos State government was talking about using Yoruba or singing Yoruba and all those stuffs. I think they really have to bring those things back, most especially in Lagos. There has to be conscious effort to make Yoruba language something general, something everybody will know that, okay, belongs to these people. And it will be a reminder to people to know that, okay, this is not a no man's land, it belongs to people. Then talking about the Fulanese, I think Fulanese were able to properly mix religion, politics, culture. They so much mix it together that even people cannot even separate the tree. And emotionally, people just get trapped in this web of religion, and they forget all other things. We thank God. I mean, to be very honest with you, if I didn't meet someone like you, I think I would be one of those people that would just be like, okay, let's just give them a chance. Let's be fair to them. But now I think I know better. I don't hate anybody, but we must be able to preserve our culture, preserve our tradition, and make sure that our children fall in line with what we observe. Not that everybody wants to run away. There are crops of Nigerians that will tell you that it doesn't matter. They are not even in the country. They don't seem to even care, But I know deep down inside the mind of some of them, they know that this is actually not the best thing. I pray we don't sell ourselves short. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my brother. I really do appreciate that as well. Thank you so much. And to be honest, I think that when people, again, I've said this before, so I have to mute you. So you might find me repeating some things. I think there's this fear from the so-called educated ones that they would be seen as bigoted or as tribalistic if they decide to protect what's theirs, which makes no sense. And I'll tell you why I say it makes no sense. Because generally speaking, when we speak, I think we speak in binaries for the most part. It's either this or that. You can either open your house to everybody or you hate them. But life is not like that. We don't live in binaries. You and I know that you can help people and still maintain boundaries. You can have people come to you, tell them this is where you can sleep. It's not like if you don't get them in your bedroom, that means that you hate them. So it's either this or that. You know that real life doesn't play out like that. So what that means basically is this: you can have friends from every ethnicity. You can be good to everyone, but you can also tell people where their boundaries are. I'll give you an example. I saw a video earlier today. It's from Japan. Let me see if I can find you that stuff. I can read it out to you. I think it would make more sense. I'd love to read this maybe on Wednesday or Thursday, but why not now, since we are here? Flower says you can't just leave Islam though. In Yoruba land you can, no, forget. That's why I'm also very careful with when people say Islam. I get things. I get it from the perspective where people say things like this is how Islam is. But I'm Yoruba. That's not the kind of Islam that Yoruba Muslims practice. And you cannot tell me that you know Islam more than them, which is what Usman Danfodio told the Hausas. Now they had a purer form of Islam they're going to introduce to them, which led to the jihad. That is why I'm very wary of people, regardless of their faith. If you start talking about purity of faith or purity of ideas, I'm very careful. I'm wary of people like that. So we have something better. We have something. There's a particular kind of Christianity you have not seen before, but we're the ones who have found it. We want to show it to you. I don't want. If it's not following the footsteps of the apostles, don't worry. You can go and teach it to you. And we've met them. They'll give you one funny material. I mean, I've read things in my life. I remember a book I read in 2001. I read that book. I was seeing things. They'll just be introducing all kinds of things. Before you know it, you're in a cult. So you've got to be very careful. All this, I want to bring you something new. Don't worry. The old rugged path is good enough for me. Anyway, let me read to you something from Japan. This happened in 2025. It was a parliamentary session in Japan. The politician's name is Mizuo Umemura. Listen to this. Regarding the issue of cemeteries for foreigners, especially Muslims who do not cremate their dead in Japan, the Cemetery Act stipulates that burial plots are limited to the area necessary for local residents. Expanding cemeteries beyond that is not permitted. Moreover, Japan is a country that has adopted cremation. We have continued with the cremation culture for 13,000 years, since the time of Princess Shotoku. This is an extremely important part of Japanese culture. Therefore, rather than expanding cemeteries within Japan, the proper approach is to return the remains to their home countries and bury them there. If we start to expand cemeteries here and there, just because there are people who don't cremate, it will inevitably lead to conflict instead of creating new cemeteries in Japan. I'll take that again. If we start to expand cemeteries here and there, just because there are people who don't cremate, it will inevitably lead to conflict. Instead of creating new cemeteries in Japan, we should repatriate the remains to their countries of origin. That's the correct way. Thank you. We'll have a conversation on this, but let me just give you a summary of what happened. It's someone from outside Japan, a Muslim actually. They were talking about, needing more space, cemeteries, Muslims. Now, you, because you are thinking like Britain and Europe, you'd be like, why not? Why not? If not, open the place up for them. Or no. Only TB these ones they are people who have foresight. Yobani TB shanoki esogun. If you expand cemeteries for this particular faith in this particular place, you may have to do it in another place. Before you know it, how much land do we even have in Japan? Here we cremate people. That's our culture. I mean, it's not like they don't bury people at all, but they don't have a lot of land for burying people. So we cremate here. But if you want to bury your dead, right, the remains of your brother, take that body back to your hometown. That's what they are saying in Japan. Does that mean Japanese hate that person or the Muslims? Of course not. It just means they love themselves and they understand what can happen once you begin to, lose grounds. Now, it's a bit different for us in Yoruba land because Muslims are not foreigners in Yoruba land. Muslims are also Yoruba people. And if you want to push out extremists, trust me, you're going to need the level-headed Muslims who are amongst us, and we can't afford to also alienate them, which is what I see with all this extremist view of Islam must go, Islam must go. If you want Islam to go, let me not even say that. The point is, Islam must go that you are shouting. It is not a political conversation in Yoruba land because you are so mixed. So we have to be careful how we talk as Yoruba people. We don't have the luxury of either A or B. We are very mixed, and it's a plus. It's a huge plus, and we like it. But we also have to understand the fact that there's something that has merit that has no demerit. The demerit is that you can have a person who gets so carried away with that faith that forgets that this is my home. So essentially, let's not forget home. Love everybody, but like this Japanese, you've got to protect your base, your home. And it's the same that you see in your politics. It's the same thing you see in giving people opportunities. When people say things like, I want to be able to be anything in Yoruba land. No, you can't.
In your home, the home that God built.
So, but you are not being inclusive. I don't care.
You open the door for everybody to just come inside.
People don't really get it, yeah? In your home, the home that God built for you, that you built or you bought, whatever house you're living in right now, do you open the door for everybody to just come inside and stay? Why not? Why aren't you doing that? Are you not being inclusive?
If a person is staying too long,
You discriminate. When your guests come, if a person is staying too long, you start saying that, Oga, when are you leaving? Especially if it's a person that is not very close to you. If it's someone that is very close to you, you will house them and accommodate them, but you're not going to get out of your your main bedroom, the master bedroom, because you want to be good to them. You're not going to hurt yourself and hurt your children because you have to protect your space. You don't leave. And if you tell me about this old tribalistic nonsense, please, tonight and every night when you're sleeping, leave the doors open. Leave your doors open. Prove that you are human. You know, they say that my religion is humanity. I don't care about all these things. Okay, thank you very much. Don't ever sleep with your doors closed. Leave it open. Let anybody be able to enter into your house, because after all, we are all humans. That's when you know that there are people called robbers and thieves. And if you assume in your mind that those things have nothing to do with reality, it's because you have been living inside La La Land. The truth of the matter is that people have different motivations. Love people. Welcome them. You know, when you have strangers, take care of them. But don't lose ground because you're trying to prove the tribalization. It's senseless. And here's the crazy part I've noticed in Nigeria. The quote-unquote strangers, and by the way, when I use the word stranger, I don't mean it in a derogatory way. If I travel to other parts of Nigeria outside Yoruba land, I'll also be a stranger. There's nothing bad about it. It's just, and after a while, I'll become one of them. If you have sense, and you know how to play your cards, you will assimilate, learn their culture, learn their way of life, not because you want to take over their land, but because you appreciate them and you want to live with them peacefully. Over time, they will welcome you and you become one of them. That's how life works, not by shouting, we no go agree. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you move into a person's land, a person's space, even if you assimilate and everything, it's still on them to welcome you or not to welcome you. So if you move to Yoruba land as a stranger, I remember what I was going to say. What I've noticed is that the quote-unquote strangers know exactly how to preserve their own spirit back home. And people do it a lot. You are liberal when you are a foreigner. You are conservative when you are back home. Clock it. That's what you notice for the most part. People are liberal when they are discussing other people's spaces, but they are who easily get manipulated by the outsiders to say, oh, really, we should be liberal. I'll also be liberal now. Let's all take everything. Meanwhile, the person who is setting to be liberal in your own home, when he gets back home, is conservative. Baje. He knows what it is to own something, because he doesn't have a lot of it, so he has to protect it. But you don't care. You were born in plenty. You saw it's easy for you, so you don't really understand it. You've never really, and by the way, you say, oh, but look at Nigeria, we don't really have anything. You don't know what you have. You see, Jesus said something. I'm a Christian, so I'm going to quote Christ. And I can quote anybody, by the way, but in this case, I'll quote Jesus. Jesus said, to the one who has, more will be given to him. He said, the one who doesn't have, even that which he has will be taken away from him. Here's my question to Jesus. If you say I don't have, or if you say this person doesn't have, where are you going to get the one you're going to collect from him? It was when we're talking about the parable of the talents. It says the one who has, more will be added to him. The one who doesn't have, even that which he has will be taken away from him. The point is, if you're saying he doesn't have, what are you going to take away from him? Apparently, he has something, but he doesn't acknowledge the fact that he does. Therefore, that which he has that he is not acknowledging and he doesn't even care about, let's take it from him and give it to the person who has. When you look at Nigeria and you spend your life saying we don't have this, we don't have this, we don't have that, you are blind. You are taking your eyes off the one you have. And now, because you are focused on what you don't have, you will give away what you have that could have given you what you don't have. So now you have nothing. So you can now begin to cry like a baby. The point is, we may not have what they have in the UK. We don't have all the. You see,
let's begin to learn to think beyond consumption. And I'm not saying consumption to production. Let's think about systems.
And I'm not saying consumption to production. No. Let's think about systems. Earlier today, I was reading some things on I think it was on Twitter, and this person said, that they live. This person said, that they lived in the. Making money, and it's always about money. But in the UK, life is good. So once you move out, it becomes a lot easier, unlike when you're living in Nigeria. Then I read the comments, different people, or when I first got to the UK, I knew that Nigeria was terrible, but here now in the UK, I understand how to live. Everything is just so beautiful, and all of those things. They did not lie. But president, it's a leader that should become president. You don't become president to become a leader. And I hope that even if it's just one person with all of this Turanchi that I'm always speaking every day, even if it's just one person that comes out of this thing and begins to think like an owner and begins to think like a leader, Nigeria is blessed. And this is where I'm going. In all the conversations that we have about why the UK is better than Nigeria, why the US is better than Nigeria, or why it's better in Norway or Sweden, we always talk about the fact that we enjoy the systems where we live. We never talk about the fact that we understand the systems. In other words, if you take us away from those places, we will never be able to replicate those things in our homeland. That's the problem. We can celebrate the fact that the system works in Europe, and it does. Nobody, if you say it's a lie, you are not patriotic, you are not being truthful. You know that it works. And it's better. But do we even know how to build it? And there's nothing wrong with traveling out, to be clear. There's nothing wrong with living abroad. There's nothing wrong with making money. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. So I'm not one of those people that will try to, guilt trip people. Travel if you want to travel. Enjoy your life. But when we do all these comparisons, how this country is better than Nigeria, how this other country is better than Nigeria, have you ever sat down to ask yourself, how did they build? The United States will be 250 years, July 4 this year. 250. How did they build that country? Can we do it? I think we can. I think we haven't built a better country. And I know we can because I have seen what Awo did. And Awo did not have internet. Think about it. What tools did Papa have? I mean, I'm almost rounding up. The sessions we have, it takes a lot of research. Sometimes when I'm reading, but I have access to many materials, right? And sometimes I just sit down and wonder, how did Awo and the other people in his time, how did they write all those books with so many references? So they are going to be opening and cutting out, and this one, it can just, even though it's a lot of work, but there's a lot of ease. The question is, what am I going to do with the ease? So when you go to the UK, what exactly are you going to now do with that system to benefit you, your family, and the society? These are the kind of conversations we should be having as Nigerians. But you see, we're not going to have those conversations if we are still all about the tribalization and looking for one master with a magic wand that is going to just turn Nigeria around. It's going to happen on a national level, and the nation I'm talking about is not Nigeria. It's going to happen in Yorùbá nation. It's going to happen among the Hausas, the Ibibios, the Thieves, the Angas, right, the Pachamas, the Igbos. Different groups will do things when everybody is doing something good in their pockets, in their corners of Nigeria. When you have the aggregate, when you put everything together, Nigeria is better. But people are looking for somebody that will go to Abuja and just fix the whole country. It is well with us. Let me not say something bad. But I'm just saying that we have to begin to think, nationally. And when you think that way, say I'm thinking nationally, and the concept of nation for me is Yoruba. But I'm also thinking Nigeria. You know why? Because if I can own my space and contribute my quota to development, Nigeria is blessed. Why am I saying all of this, Turinchi? Back to the topic. If we're discussing religion, and I remember that I am from the Yoruba nation, there's nothing that will make me bow the knee to another person from another ethnicity, especially if that person is the traditional ruler of another ethnicity. Have you seen how Irish people speak England? Because I think, we travel, but maybe we also need to begin to observe the cultures around the world. So that all this nonsense, tribalization, we'll not go and lose everything that we have in the name of trying to prove a point. Have you seen how the Irish talk? Do you see how the Scottish people, the Scotsmen, how they discuss their ethnic identity vis-a-vis the British identity? People think it's a Nigerian thing. They say it's tribalism. It's not tribalism. It's nationalism. It's ethnic nationalism, and it doesn't have to be at the detriment of other people. You're not trying to hurt others. You're just trying to protect your space. And if you understand that, then you understand why people like Baba Marcus Agege, why they're speaking the way they're saying. Where they're saying that, listen, you have your own space, you're Sultan, we have our own space, we're Yoruba, and it's not the same. But does not mean that we're not in the same country. But your constituency is different from our constituency.
Therefore, it's not the time want to have people guiding us from
It's not the time want to have people guiding us from guiding us from outside the Yoruba nation. But in Nigeria, we can do things together. But make no mistakes that we have to wait for your authority, especially when that person we're talking about is not just a spiritual leader, is actually the traditional leader of a particular group of people. And if you don't understand this, please, I beg you in the name of God, read about the jihad of Usman and Fodio and understand what religion was used to do. Again, believe me when I say this, I think he's one of the smartest humans who ever walked that part of the world. Fantastic man. He knew how to strategize it. And he cooked it in such a way that even in 2026, people still don't know how to separate the ingredients. He mixed the ingredients. You know how you do stew? There's tomatoes, there's pepper, there's onions, there's some people who add garlic and whatever. Once you grind everything together and you make the stew, you can't separate these things. That's what Osman Afodio did. So when they tell you to remove the onions, you are looking at it as if you are committing a sin, which is what I see when some people talk. The man blended it together. But thankfully, unlike soups, you can unblend those things because, it is what it is. But you just have to, do it with love. You don't hate anybody. You're just protecting your own space, okay? Anyway, I hope you got something from today's conversation. Oh, Adamo Risha. Let's bring you up. I'll bring up Adamo Risha.
Please close this door. Rex. Close this door. Adamo Risha, are you there? Close the door.
Adamo Risha, are you there?
Okay, I suppose it's not coming up. Anyway, it's been nice hanging out.
Okay, maybe it's not coming up. Anyway, it's been nice hanging out with everybody. Thank you very much for being here. I want to thank everybody who has liked and shared. 13.6k likes on TikTok. Thank you very, very much. All right, thanks a lot. We have folks on YouTube as well, and on Facebook, and also on X, on Twitter. Thank you very much for your support. Here, I just read some of the comments on YouTube, and then we'll call it a day. By the way, if you want to support what we're doing, we have these sessions every day. So I should say that we'll be here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Ife time, West African time. We'll be listening to Chief Samuel Ladoke Akintola and the things he said about the elections of the 1960s and what we can learn from that. And hopefully we can bring people up to actually go deep into it. So once a week, we can speeches like that from different people, leaders in different fields, and hopefully we'll be able to learn from them. Okay, so that will be tomorrow at 4 p.m. If you'd like to support what we're doing here, please use the bank details on the screen. It would be nice to have you support us. Thank you very much. So let me just quickly read some things here on YouTube. This is Mr. Bamidele Adegoroye. It says beautiful seminar presentation. Thank you, sir. It says we see a changing world and our people must learn about who we should be in the future. Tolerance, yes. Foolishness, no. Claim your heritage. Life is a competition. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Bamidele Adegoroye. New Era says Hausa were on the verge of taking back Hausa land when British arrived. Yorùbá Balogun Alanamu had taken back Ilorin and was its ruler until British deposed him. The British saved Caliphate for indirect rule. Thank you very much for that. And thank you. We should have these conversations, right? Hopefully one of these we're going to have a conversation about, what happened, especially that particular era you just mentioned before the British arrived. And we'll talk about it. But thank you very much for highlighting that. New Era also says, it is amazing how Murik is silent at this time. They must have remembered what befell Sholagberu and his Okesuna community that were wiped out by the jihadists, despite being Yoruba Muslims. Yes, we mentioned that earlier, that Sholagberu, who was helped by Afonja to settle at a place called Okesuna, he did not help his brother, his Yoruba brother. He decided to side with, for the most part, I know it's a bit simplistic, but we can go into the details later. But it didn't help him. But when the other side, when they were ready to deal with him, they didn't care about the fact that he was a Muslim. They unalived him and cleared him off the land. Yeah, I hope we learn from that. Again, this is not to say that you should have a problem with others. Like I always say, spirituality has nothing to do with geography. Okay, you have non-Yoruba people who are adherents of traditional Yoruba religions. Okay, so you have Yoruba Christians and Yoruba Muslims. You can have brotherhood with anybody. I have Christian brothers who are not Yoruba, but don't lose your home under the guise of religion. If you are done losing, you have no place to sleep. I be bridge you also. Okay.
We're good on YouTube. Thank you very much, guys, for being out to thank the people. One second, please. Let me just check on that device. Okay, I found it. New Era says Usman Danfodio was not fantastic. His kingdom was already crumbling when the British arrived.
New Era says Usman Danfodio was not fantastic. His kingdom was already crumbling when the British arrived. It was the British that saved it was fantastic. The kingdom that was crumbling wasn't in his lifetime. It was not in his lifetime. The point is, when I say it was fantastic, it's not to say that, it's something I want to copy. But you see, the way life works is you got to be able to, like, if somebody does something well, I'm like, I've got to acknowledge it. And the point I'm trying to make is, maybe I should even say it straight. So, and I think Vodi actually mentioned it. It was a mix of religion. Let me put it this way. He used religion in such a way that he mixed it into everything folks were doing, so that even when ethnicity was the main ingredient, people did not really see what was going on. And people are just waking up right now to say, no, we don't want to do it again. We want to be Muslims, but especially among the Hausas. So his brilliance, and he was brilliant. You've got to give it to him. His brilliance was his ability to create a state under the guise of religion, right? While at the same time ensuring that his ethnicity was at the top of the food chain, if you get what I mean. So you'll be shouting, we're all the same religion. Yes, we are the same religion, but that post, you will not get there. Is reserved for his own people. But you still will not go against it because you think that it's supposed to be there based on the religion. I think it was brilliant. But again, if you don't agree, that's okay, but I think it was brilliant. And it's something you can learn from. It's something that people can learn from. And he's not the only one. There are other people who have done the same thing. People have used different things, to take over spaces. And I think he was able to use Islam and he succeeded, whether we like it or not. But the point is, it should not happen in our own place. That's the important thing. We should not allow that kind of stuff. Okay, Yoruba we have our League of Imams. I'm not Muslim, by the way, but I've always,
it's important, right? Which is why you go to church today.
but I've always, right? Which is why you go to church today,
Let me even say
or you have gangan.
time to law.
I don't think people really know how deep this thing is. Let me even say this before we go. Time to law.
Churches.
You know, there was a time when we did not have drums in churches in Yoruba land.
Singing in English.
We didn't have drums. We were singing in English language. There's a time like that.
Said no. They called
Your fathers
it by J. Ade Ajayi
said no. They called it, if you read the book by J. Ade Ajayi,
activism.
The Evolution of Nigerian Nationalism, they called it cultural activism. They will be Christians, but they will be Yoruba.
Where the people said, where Martin Luther actually said,
They will be Christians, but they will be Yoruba.
we teach people with Latin. We want people to be able to hear the message and read the Bible in German.
Want people to be able to
You only
hear the message and read the Bible in German.
by the priest, and it was
Up until then,
even though you don't understand
you only heard scripture read to you by the priest, and it was all in Latin. Even though you don't understand the language or na religion, they will read to you in Latin, and that's it.
that's what I'm trying to tell you.
They had to democratize the faith. What's happening in Nigeria is not new. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Localize the faith.
It's not new.
You have issues with it if you're Catholic, but if you understand
With the Protestant Reformation, what they did was to localize the faith. Now, you may have issues with it if you're Catholic, but if you understand what they were gunning for and how that thing turned out in Germany and in Geneva, then you're able to appreciate, like, okay, this is where they were going with it. Such that we could hear the message in our own language. People don't understand how important that thing is. I heard some people having a chat over, I think it was last weekend. Someone was saying that, can you pray to God without using Arabic language? And the person was like, you must learn something. I was like, you still don't get it. But I don't like going deep into such conversations. But I think you know what I mean. You know, like, imagine, for instance, I'm a Yoruba Christian, but we must pray in English language because the colonialists brought it. Our fathers worked against it was actually in the 19th century, around from 1880 thereabout. They began to. It was actually 1864 after Ajayi became bishop, somewhere around that time. But by 1880, 1890, it was very loud, and they were asserting cultural autonomy. And I think that's how you should live if you're a Yoruba person, because you have something that is great, but it's also good to be a Christian, but you don't want to lose your faith, you know, because it's beautiful. I'm a Christian, I should say that. But I don't want to lose my culture because there's nothing. They're not mutually exclusive. Yoruba culture and Christianity not mutually exclusive, right? Yoruba culture and your Islam not mutually exclusive. And I think one of these days, maybe when we are done with this OWL series, I would like us to revisit the most evolution of Islam in Yoruba land, and maybe even go to read some things called. There's a paper that was published many years ago. It's called, and I've done it here before a long time ago. Odri Mole. You see the connection between the Yoruba idea or the Yoruba way of life and their understanding of Islam and how they were able to critique it without necessarily fighting them. Although they eventually fought, and they fought because some people did not just know when to stop. And I hope that doesn't happen again in Yoruba land. All right. But thank you very much for being part of today's session. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow, 4 p.m. if your time, West African time. Before we go, we're going to listen to our anthems, the Nigerian anthem and the Yoruba anthem as well. Any other thing? I think someone's trying to come up, but time's low. Got to run. Okay, let's have Bumblebee. I mean, it doesn't take too much time. He's our person. All right.
Hello, Bumblebee. Good evening, my brother.
Hello, Bumblebee.
Thank you, Prof. Good evening, Prof. God bless you.
Good evening, my brother. Ekale.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for bringing me up. So let me just go straight to my submission. I think one of the things we should look at, like I said, every time I always say, the Yoruba people should look towards ancient civilizations, old civilizations that have lasted 1,000 years or more. those are where we can draw reasonable comparisons. One of the things very, very big in Asia is it was very difficult for Christianity and Islam, Judeo-Christianic religion, to excel in in Asia rather, because yes, they were there. Sometimes they didn't even fight them. They didn't attack them physically. They just let them preach and all. But those people had, before they brought Islam and Christianity there, they already had Confucius, they had Buddha and all that. So they had cultural figures that they had already deified. So they understood the principles of a new religion coming up. So in their mind, they will be like, we have someone who is from our place that has a religion. Why do you think what you are bringing from where you are coming from is better than what we have? It's also the same reason why most people don't understand why Yoruba people can let other people practice other religions, because they understand. You can be a Christian and we don't even need to fight you. You can be a Muslim, we don't need to fight you. You can be serving whatever you want to serve and we don't need to fight you, because we already understand that we had heroes, we had religious figures, and it's not do or die affair for you to serve them. Now, bringing this home, like we said, you've always mentioned we are pace setters. Everything we do, people always come back to understand why we do it. People like Nnamdi Azikiwe and all those people, they fought our, but at the end of the day, they came back to understand that this guy was the only guy that really had enough sense to structure things properly. So I know that you've always been very sensitive on touching on the issues of Islam because you're not Muslim, but I like the way God has given you the wisdom to address the issue this evening. Thank you very much, bro.
Thank you very much, my brother Bumblebee. That was fantastic, as usual. Thank you. And yes, we're pace setters and we should keep setting the pace. Love everyone, protect your space. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to have the anthems right now. We'll have the Yoruba anthem the Nigerian anthem and then the Yoruba anthem. Thank you very much for being here again. Please meet us tomorrow. We're going to be listening to Chief SLA, Samuel Akintola, be learning from him. I'll be doing that once a week. And on Thursday, we're going to continue with the series I Want Trial. We're going to how he was arrested. And we'll have, lots of sessions coming up. And by the way, comrade, let me just quickly tell you, I'm working on that Islamic thing. We're going to have it soon. And of course, respectfully, and we're all going to grow together. Thanks everyone for being part of today's session. If you'd like to support what we're doing here, please use the bank details up on the screen. Thank you very much for your support. Let's have the Nigerian anthem and then the Yoruba anthem. Thanks a lot.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land.
Ìmọ́lẹ̀ ogun adúláwọ̀ ìmọ́lẹ̀ wọ̀ ní wọ́kùn lágbára Ọlọ́run lẹ́yìnbó ní bàjẹ́ Nàìjíríà náà ní bàjẹ́ ilé wa ọ̀nà wa ọkàn ní bàjẹ́ lágbára Ọlọ́run. May everything you touch remain blessed. May God bless you and the work of your hands, and may you succeed in all that you do, and may you be part of the solution to Nigeria's problems. And may Yoruba land work, may Nigeria work in our time. Thank you very much for being part of today's session. I'll see you tomorrow, 4 p.m. If your time was African time. Music starts before 4 on TikTok, and they will bring other people up much later. Thank you for being part of today's session. I'll see you again tomorrow. Have a great, great night. God bless you. Or have a great evening, I should say. Because I know some of you are just coming out of work. So enjoy your evening. Have a lovely one. God bless you. Good night. Good night all.